On a cold December morning in Los Angeles, Jack Tanner sat on the edge of a concrete planter outside a bustling coffee shop. His clothes were worn, and his face carried the lines of years spent surviving on the streets. Jack was a veteran, a man who had once served his country with pride, but life after service had not been kind. Haunted by memories of war and struggling with PTSD, Jack had spiraled into homelessness. He had lost his family, his home, and for a long time, his hope. Each day, Jack would watch the world rush past him. He'd see men in suits clutching steaming cups of coffee, women in yoga gear chatting on their phones, and tourists snapping photos of the city's skyscrapers. Jack had long become invisible to them, just another figure in the background of their busy lives. But Jack wasn't bitter. Despite everything, he believed in the goodness of people. He had his moments of despair, but deep down, he clung to the hope that life could turn around, even if he didn't know how. That morning, Jack was nursing a paper cup of lukewarm coffee a kind stranger had handed him. He stared at the steam curling into the chilly air when a sleek black Tesla pulled up to the curb nearby. Jack glanced at the car, admiring its clean lines and futuristic design. For a man who owned nothing but a threadbare backpack, such luxury felt like something from another world. The driver's door opened, and out stepped a tall man with salt and pepper hair, wearing a simple black jacket and jeans. Jack didn't recognize him at first. The man walked past him toward the coffee shop but paused mid-step. He turned and looked at Jack, his brow furrowing slightly. "Hey," the man said, his voice carrying a mix of curiosity and concern. "You doing okay?" Jack looked up, surprised. Most people didn't bother speaking to him, let alone asking how he was. "I've been better," Jack replied with a faint smile. He had learned to mask his pain with humor. The man nodded, studying Jack for a moment. "What's your name?" "Jack," he answered. "Jack Tanner." The man extended a hand. "Nice to meet you, Jack. I'm Elon." Jack shook his hand, though the name didn't immediately register. It wasn't until Elon walked into the coffee shop that Jack realized who he had just met. Elon Musk. The Tesla guy. The billionaire. Jack chuckled to himself. "Well, that's a first," he muttered. A few minutes later, Elon came back out, holding 2 cups of coffee and a small paper bag. He walked straight over to Jack and handed one of the cups to him. "Here, this one's hot," Elon said, placing the bag on the planter beside Jack. "There's a sandwich in there, too." Jack's hands trembled slightly as he accepted the coffee. "Thank you," he said softly, feeling a lump form in his throat. He wasn't used to this kind of kindness. Elon sat down on the planter beside him, ignoring the curious glances from passers-by. "So, Jack, what's your story?" Jack hesitated. It wasn't often that someone asked, and he wasn't sure how much to share, but something about Elon's genuine demeanor put him at ease. "I'm a veteran," Jack began. "Served in the Army for 10 years, did a couple of tours overseas. When I came back, things were different. I couldn't adjust. Lost my job, my wife left, and, well, here I am." He gestured to his surroundings. "This is my life now." Elon listened intently, nodding occasionally. When Jack finished, Elon was quiet for a moment, as if processing everything he had just heard. "That's tough," Elon said finally. "You've been through a lot. But you know what? You're still here. That says something about your strength." Jack shrugged. "Sometimes I wonder why I bother. Seems like no one cares." Elon looked at him, his eyes sharp and thoughtful. "I care. And I think a lot of people would care if they knew your story. Sometimes, people just don't know how to help." Jack didn't know what to say. It had been years since someone had spoken to him with such sincerity. "Tell you what," Elon said, standing up. "I'm going to help you. Not just with a sandwich and coffee, but really help you. You've got a lot of life left to live, Jack." Jack blinked up at him, unsure if he had heard correctly. "What do you mean?" "I mean," Elon said with a grin, "let's get you back on your feet. Do you have a phone?" Jack shook his head. "Not anymore." "No problem," Elon said. "We'll fix that." He pulled out his own phone and made a quick call. Jack couldn't hear the details, but Elon's tone was firm and decisive. When he hung up, he turned back to Jack. "I've got a team that can help with housing, job placement, and counseling," Elon explained. "They'll meet you here tomorrow morning, and we'll start making things right." Jack stared at him, overwhelmed. "Why would you do this for me? You don't need to know me." Elon smiled. "Because everyone deserves a second chance. And sometimes, all it takes is someone believing in you. True to his word, the next day, a team of professionals arrived to meet Jack. They arranged for him to stay in a temporary shelter and connected him with a counselor who specialized in helping veterans. Over the next few weeks, Jack began to rebuild his life one small step at a time. Elon didn't disappear either. He checked in on Jack regularly, offering words of encouragement and even helping him enroll in a job training program. Slowly but surely, Jack began to feel like himself again. He found a job as a mechanic, a skill he had learned during his time in the army. With steady work and a roof over his head, Jack started to dream of a future he thought he had lost. Months later, Jack stood in front of a group of fellow veterans at a community center, sharing his story. He spoke about the darkness he had endured and the light he had found, thanks to a stranger who saw him as more than just another homeless man on the street. "If there's one thing I've learned," Jack said, his voice steady and strong, "it's that you're never truly alone. Even when life knocks you down, there are people out there who care. Sometimes you just have to hold on long enough to find them." In the back of the room, Elon Musk leaned against the wall, listening with a proud smile. He hadn't just helped change Jack's life. Jack had inspired him too. It was a reminder that even in the smallest acts of kindness, there was the power to create something extraordinary. For Jack, the encounter had been more than a chance meeting. It was proof that no matter how far you've fallen, there's always a way back up. And for Elon, it was a reaffirmation of the simple truth he'd always believed. With hope, humanity, and a little bit of action,